Hello, Namaste, welcome, Suswagatam, Jai Hind. Welcome in this Expert Talk Show, episode number 156. And today's topic, today's podcast is on shaping employer brands, the journey from storytelling to strategy with Akanksha Gandotra. So, this will be an interesting podcast wherein we'll discuss the importance of employer branding, the importance of storytelling, and how you can uh, do the best in employer branding and what are the benefits of it. So, before we invite our expert of the day, Akanksha, on the show, please subscribe our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the regular updates. And let's start the session. Let's invite our expert of the day. Hey, Akanksha, welcome on the show. Thank you
Thank you.
for
Thanks, Vipul.
thank you for accepting our invitation, and would love to know more about today's session. It is very interesting topic. So before we jump into the session, please tell us something more about you and your life journey to begin with.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks again, Vipul. When it comes to me, it's been almost close to a decade that I've been working in employer branding and recruitment marketing as an area. When I started way back into marketing and branding specifically with a touch of human resources, when I started my bachelor's and MBA as an integrated program, that has honestly given me a lot of exposure working for startups, right? Especially marketing related to them. Also, yes, I belong to New Delhi, born and brought up there. Have studied in Ahmedabad and I've been working in Bangalore from like close to 10 years now. I've always been in this area. I started with this area, and thanks to the kind of belief my leaders had shown in my skill set, because I've been someone who have always worked part time with a lot of startups, branding them, and also understanding the nuances of how the human resources works. My only agenda when I sat for my B school placements was to get into something which is a mix of human resources and marketing as well as technology. And yes, I've been very, very fortunate to be in an area called as employer branding. And yeah, that's about me. Thank you.
Wow, that's interesting. Thanks for brief about you. And moving on to the in the let's jump into the session with the very first questions. What first sparked your interest in employer branding and recruitment marketing, and how did you find yourself leading this functions globally across different industries?
Sure. To lay a foundation to this question, right? I started my journey in employer branding from the very start of my career, right? Working with an organization, right, which is an IT giant, and to be able to understand the nuances of employer branding and to be able to learn employer branding from my mentors at that time gave me a lot of understanding that how even established organizations like big IT giants would continuously would want to work on their employer brand, right? When I talk about an IT giant, of course, they're very much known in the talent market. But what sparked my interest is the understanding of communities, is the understanding of advocacy, the intent to have very transparent connections with the kind of people either you work with, you want to hire, right? So that's something which sparked that interest, connecting with people, and also the perceptions and the cultures which we can get out in the world through a field of employer branding and recruitment marketing is what definitely sparked my interest, because it's not often that you get to work with different kind of cohorts, different kind of people, and also talk about culture which you truly believe in, right? I've been very, very fortunate that the values, not just my values but also the values of the organizations I've worked with, have always aligned with me. And yeah, that just makes it better, right, to be able to actually work with those organizations. And working in these organizations, whether it's an IT giant or a startup, or then I worked with consulting firms, and right from last at least 3 to 4 years I've been in financial services and trading world. What it made me understand, and when I was heavily working with these organizations in employer branding, it's also the kind of employer brand which comes to you on the table, right? There might be Employer branding will always exist. It's just that if you're not talking about it, the real world doesn't know, right? So when I used to work closely with these organizations, I used to understand that, hey, this is how we can talk about it in the external market. This is how you can actually take the internal brand perception of your existing employees and outside in the world, right? It's just talking about what you're doing and narrating your stories, which will have those authentic voices coming into picture. So yeah, that's what I've been doing when it comes to being in these functions and working with global organizations.
Wow, that's interesting one. So can you define employer branding as you see it and explain why it's becoming indispensable for organizations today?
So for anyone who will be listening to this podcast, right, and might not know what employer branding is, for me, in layman terms, every organization has a brand, but the brand which we know are often the brands which are related to products and services, right? But what about talent brands? What about what the organization actually stands for if you want to work with them, right? We could be really working and would want to work with the best organizations out there, but do you really want to work with them because they have the greatest search engine in the world or the greatest social media platform, or you want to work with them because of the culture or the nuances which they bring to the table as a talent brand, right? So this is what differentiates a brand and an employer brand, right? An employer brand, in simple words, whether it's called as talent branding or talent marketing, and also recruitment marketing, which is specifically related to talent acquisition. I feel that's the difference, right? That's how I actually think that employer brand is actually the authentic voice of the brand and the talent brand they stand for, right? And when it comes to that being something which is now indispensable, is because today you cannot attract talent if you're not talking about your employer brand. Today I might have multiple people working with me, the best of talent, but what am I solving for? What are the challenges do I have? How are people or employees helping to solve for that challenge? How are we continuously growing as an organization? If we don't talk about it, if we don't have the right brand perception outside in the world, why would somebody want to work? Right today, if I have joined an XYZ organization, I see the potential that organization can grow with, right? There are organizations who've already grown tremendously, but still, why would you join them? Because it's the mix of the culture they stand for, the values they bring to the table. Are they aligned to yours? And also what you can bring to the table. Is there a potential for you to add, right? And if it's not being talked about, if you're not thinking about it, then that's the mistake at your end, and hence it becomes very indispensable. You cannot work with an organization unless and until you understand what's the employer brand they're bringing to the table, apart from their products or services or anything they do and venturing into.
So uh, what are some unique challenges you have encountered while tailoring employer branding strategies for diverse markets such as India, Australia, and the US, and the other regions? Uh, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, sure. So honestly, the challenges, and that might be a bit controversial, but if you see in a nutshell, the challenges across the world are pretty similar. Right, the nuances which gets added to it are the cultural aspects of things. Right, when it comes to India, how do you target the best tech talent out there, for example? Right, is it very difficult? Yes. Today there are multiple opportunities, there are multiple brands out there who are trying to target the same kind of people. How do you declutter in that space and are able to actually connect with that kind of audience or that kind of targeted cohort of talent? But the nuances which India adds to the table in terms of employer branding challenges will, of course, be very, very different from, let's say, an Australia centric organization, right? Today, multiple GCCs or multiple organizations are present globally. But when it comes to, for example, in Australia, there's going to be a stark difference as to how do you connect with talent, right? There's a lot of focus on university centric programs, right? That's where you actually start from. There's a lot of focus on having university graduates start and then be with you for a longer time. I'm not saying that's not in India, but in India there will be a lot of focus, for example, for tech GCCs, right, to start with a lot of people who are experienced enough, right? The challenges become very, very visible when you don't have the correct brand perception. What's internally employees are thinking about you, externally available as well. The biggest challenge I have ever faced is that everyone has great things to talk about or have some things to talk about the brand, but it's just internal, right? It's just internally available in the ecosystem of the organization, but nobody is talking about it externally, whether it's, let's say, getting reviews on Glassdoor. Is that the correct brand perception which you have, which you today read, right? It will only be possible to understand that when almost all of your employees are talking about your brand in some manner or another. And so the challenge becomes, how do you make brand advocates? How do you get folks to advocate for your brand, right? And for that, you, of course, have to start from trust. You have to have a lot of trust in your brand, is when employees will start advocating about your brand. So, yeah, laying down those foundations are very important.
Which soft skills, certifications, or experience do you consider absolutely essential for everyone inspiring to excel in employer branding and recruitment marketing?
I feel I have grown with this area myself, right? When I'm talking about a decade back, I never even had more than one or two pages about employer branding in the textbooks I studied during my masters. And having the privilege to actually grow with this field growing, I feel there is a trajectory which you understand that, okay, if let's say you could have majored in just one area, which is, let's say, marketing or human resources, but a strong knowledge of both of them is required, right? And it's okay if you have just done branding, right? If it's okay if you have just done media and comms, but an understanding of the field like human resources, an area like human resources, which is very critical, very sensitive to any organization out there, is very, very important, right? Soft skills, of course, goes without saying. You have to have the best storytelling out there. You have to have that imagination to be able to understand what are the nuances you can pick up on. Analytical skills, right, to be able to make sense of the data, it's extremely important. If today I have a metric like, let's say, career site followership or career site footfall, what am I making sense out of that, right? Is is a specific footfall on a specific day is something which makes my brand or my campaign successful? The answer is no. You have to have a steady flow. That means that, okay, your brand or your employer brand is established now. So soft skills, of course, then of course you have to have that knowledge. But I also feel the kind of experience before you get into this area is slightly important, for you to have worked in areas like communication, right? Areas like media, areas like human resources, right? People do switch, people do move from human resources to employer branding, or they move from marketing to employer branding. This is only when you understand what areas of human resources and marketing actually mean, and then work the magic of employer branding.
Yeah, so well explained. You rightly said storytelling is an art, and one should master on it,
Yep.
and that matters. So, how can organizations leverage employee branding to drive both talent attractions and employee retention, especially in highly competitive sectors like the GCC industries or global capacity centers?
I feel that organizations really need to integrate their employer branding with their talent acquisition, right? The engagement which you get, if if you're not doing that, you're missing out on a very big matrix of employee retention. Today we feel the area I work in is called as talent attraction, right? But is it just about attraction? What if I'm not able to attract talent, but I'm not able to then retain talent, right? Or vice versa, right? If there is just people being retained and then I'm not able to attract more talent, there's something which is missing. And hence a very good balance of both of these areas become very important, and that is where storytelling comes, right? The voices you stand for. What is that employer branding voice you're trying to amplify in the market, right? How do you do it with the power of storytelling? How do you do it with the power of career growth stories, the great work you're doing, and also the kind of technology you're using or the kind of platforms you have, right? Each and every kind of person you bring in an organization will have a different requirement. But what your EVP stands for becomes extremely important. So it needs to be an amalgamation of what the industry is offering, what are you offering, and what is that an employee or a prospective candidate wants, right? A mix of all of this, if you imagine a Venn diagram, is the sweet spot. But the other areas are the areas of improvement, right? If you don't have something which an employer wants, but right, so you have to work on that area. So I feel that there has to be a lot of ROI which you need to focus on if you are investing, right? So focusing on metrics, focusing on how your Glassdoor ratings are, how your LinkedIn followership is, how is your user data, what is the career site footfall. All of this will make you understand that this is the sense of belonging an employee has, and that is when you will be able to attract as well as retain talent.
So yeah, well said, well said. So could you can you walk us through a memorable campaign or project like the EVP redevelopment or partnerships that has a tangible impact, and what set it apart?
Okay, of course, there's no one project, and I might not be able to add details, right? Because, of course, I would want to maintain the confidentiality of the work I've done with the organizations. But what I can definitely cover at a very high scale or a bird's eye view for all of you is the kind of redevelopment when you do of a lot of EVPs is a very big challenge, right? It's a challenge. Why I call it as a challenge? Because you have established your voice in the talent market as, let's say, XYZ. To be able to move to an ABC now will become a challenge, because first things first, you will have to understand as to why do you need an EVP redevelopment, right? Is it something which your employees are telling you? Is it something which your survey results are talking about? Is it something which is now not what you stand for? There can be a lot of things which get to the table because of new leadership, because of new vision, because of the growth trajectory you pivot in an organization, right? Hence that is when you do EVP redevelopments, right? That okay, this is something which now we don't stand for, and we really would want to pivot from there and actually go with the right kind of voice we stand for. So to be a part of a redevelopment project will always have to start with something called as a brand perception study. A brand perception study, and this is something which I've had the fortune, right, to do it in multiple organizations or multiple GCCs as well. Doing a brand perception study gives you an understanding of not just people who are in your ecosystem, what they think about your own employees, but also the kind of talent cohorts you're targeting, what do they think about you. To be able to do an exercise which is with your own people as well as the prospective talent you're looking at is the only way you can actually understand what do I stand for, what is my perception in the market, and is it the right way. Then what is that industry folks or the people industry need, and what your employees think about your own brand is how you redevelop your PVP pillars, right? People value proposition becomes extremely important, which becomes the base. right? To be able to give that benefits suite, the EVP suite to the people, you will have to have your PVP pillars well defined, right? Does it just belong to the benefits I'm providing a prospective candidate? Is it the kind of culture I bring to the table? Are those learning and development opportunities? Are those flexibility? Right? So, all of these things, once you understand them, is when you can actually develop or redevelop your EVP, right? And this is how those result actually improves, right? Then that is when you are able to attract the right set of people or aligned with your culture. And yeah, redevelopment is one of the biggest exercises I've also done in the past. Also, developing from scratch is also something which I've done, and that has given me a lot of things to learn. And yes, that's where this project is and will always be very close to my heart.
So, what are some common misconceptions employers or job seekers hold about employer branding, and how do you clarify or correct them?
Okay, the biggest one I feel really hurt by sometimes is employer branding is just marketing. No, it's not. Um, if it would have been just marketing, I would have also marketed products and services of the organization and not just branded for talent, right? Um, One campaign fits all. Uh, a very big myth I feel that people have. No. Like I mentioned, whether it's India, whether it's Australia, whether it's any place in Europe, anywhere in the world, your employer branding voices will shape your campaigns, and not the voices in India will work in any other part of the world. For a very simple reason, people are different, cultures are different, the way people work, the way people want benefits are very different. So, can one campaign fit all? No. From the way the colors are placed, from the way the font works, from the way the size of the font works, from the way what you're telling people, your words, the way imagery can be used, everything needs and should be changed when you go to different parts of, for that matter, our own country, right? It changes even from state to state, for that matter, right? There are a lot of people out there who change their talent branding campaigns. They become language specific sometimes, right? Aligned to the state we are in India. So of course it doesn't fit everyone. And yeah, third one is, we've already talked about it. Talent branding, employer branding is not just talent attraction, but it's also retention, right? You being able to continuously do the kind of work you're doing needs to work well hand in hand with other teams in the organization, whether it's human resources, whether it's branding or other functions, enabling functions, especially. It has to lead to retention as well, and it just cannot be attraction. Is it a direct metric for someone working in employer branding? The answer, of course, is no. But it just doesn't attract talent, but also it builds your brand. It also leads to retention. Yeah, so these definitely are the three myths.
So well explained that one recipe will not work for all.
Of
So
course.
you need to
Yeah.
try
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
uh, uh, permutations and combinations for
For sure.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for young professionals looking to transition from adjustments field like marketing, communications, HR, analytics into employer branding and recruitment marketing particularly?
I would say for recruitment marketing, especially, is your way to go about. Why recruitment marketing? Because recruitment marketing campaigns generally are very centric to the talent acquisition function, right? How do you build the funnel? How do you get better understanding of the kind of talent cohorts you're hiring for? So, someone who is in different fields in that organization, if can work with talent acquisition teams, and also someone who manages talent campaigns, is your way to go about. A small list of creative suggestion goes a long way. And I've done that in the past. When I was starting, this is how my leaders started to believe in my skill set, that okay, there is someone who has done a lot of marketing in a past, understands human resources. I've studied it and all of that. How do we give fresher an opportunity to work in this area? And this only happens when you start giving suggestions, working with people who are into talent campaigns and giving suggestions, that being involved, right? Being giving suggestions on content, right? The moment you start understanding what they're doing and you give your suggestions, you participate, you volunteer when you have the opportunities. And sometimes you don't have volunteering opportunities, and that's fine. But if you can ask, right? The biggest lesson I've learned in my corporate career is to ask questions. And this is something which my first boss leader told me. If you're not asking questions and if you're not asking for opportunities, you will never be able to grow, right? So asking questions, and till date I ask questions. If I want to volunteer, I ask for the opportunity. The worst can happen is an answer is no, but the best is that if you get an answer as a yes, you grow with that, right? Being a part of talent fairs, an organization often goes to multiple events, sponsors them, or they are there with their stalls. Being a part of those teams make you understand what an employer branding or a recruitment marketing expert does. So being able to do that and being able to part of those initiative taking opportunities, I feel we've done your job. I understand for some organizations, there are teams working in silos, or there are teams which are globally present. It often becomes difficult, but I feel initiating a conversation, and I don't want to really be philosophical about all of this, right? But it's a conversation. You need to start somewhere, right? If you are looking for opportunities within your own organization, it has to and will always start from talking to people. So yeah, talk to people, understand how are the opportunities placed, and then get into that work. It will make you understand, do you love that area, and then you can transition as well.
Well said. You rightly said. Always ask, and you will not get anything until you'll ask. You have
Correct.
to ask for it. You'll have to vouch for it.
Yeah.
Then only you will get it. So very,
Yeah.
very well said. Very rightly said. So looking ahead, what trends or innovations in employer branding and talent marketing are most excited about, and how should organizations prepare for them?
There is an area called as candidate journeys, right, which I've always been very very excited about, right? Branding, talent branding essentially, and even recruitment marketing works on a very big principle of being able to have those touch points always in your head when you design campaigns. So personalized candidate journeys is something organizations often, I would say, have trouble with, for a very simple reason. Personalizing each and every journey becomes very very difficult, and if you're not able to do that, then you might have declines in between, right, when someone has been offered already. So to be able to manage all of that, personalized candidate journeys are very very important. Gamified versions of it. There's a lot of talk about AI, right? Does it impact my area? Answer actually is no, it doesn't impact, but it enables a lot of things for me to do faster, right? For me to be able to gamify a lot of things, whether it's candidate journeys, whether it's a lot of employee advocacy programs, a lot of purpose driven branding. For me today to have an advocacy, it's easy. I can actually talk to the most engaged people and have them to advocate for my brand. But what about, imagine a platform which has multiple brand assets, it has multiple content repositories, and my advocates, if trained well and made to understand the brand and concept really well, they can just plug and play, right? Why can I not do those things utilizing AI, right? And make it a personalized experience, an engaging experience for all of the people I'm taking on this journey with, right? So I feel these two trends, with the usage of a lot of actually available fast moving trends, which is AI, right? Agentic AI and all of these things will shape up even better. And yeah, I would say to all the employer branding professionals out there, it's high time that we pick that up as well.
Well explained, and it was amazing. We got to know so many things from today's session.
Thank you.
So, before we leave you, your final advice, your final uh, golden words for our audience.
I would say just ask questions. Always always focus on one principle, which I focus on. There's a lot of power in a thing called as sabr, shukr, and sukoon. That is my life philosophy. Sorry for getting philosophical there, but I feel it works in every possible sphere of your life, and I have made sure that it like translates for me in some manner or shape in my professional life as well. Being patient with what you have, what you can work with the limited resources is very important, right? Often you won't have like a whole world given to you, and then yeah, let's do magic with that. There will be often times when you have to be patient with things. You have to work with what's available for you, right? Gratitude, right? I feel me having this gratitude for me to have the privilege to be in a field which is exactly the combination of the areas I wanted to work in. I will always have the highest regard and gratitude, pride, and of course pride. The kind of peace you get with a great work you do, and you also know that you have potential to do. Don't let your potential go unexplored. Pride, I feel a very big deal, which makes me enjoy my work every day, are these three words, and always asking questions, because unless and until you're very sure of what the answer might be, just ask questions, right? You don't know the answer unless you've asked. So
True.
that's what I feel are my golden words, my mantra, and I wanted to share it with the world.
Well said. I remember one of my school time teachers. You used to tell me that ask question and be foolish for 5 minutes rather than being foolish
Oh
for the
yeah,
entire life.
I
So
I absolutely agree. Honestly, the one thing which I have made sure I'm very open with, and I tell this to anyone who joins me, whether in my team, whether in my like larger team, anywhere in the organization, I just tell them that don't hesitate to ask me questions. If I can answer, I would happily help you. And if I cannot, I will connect you to the person who can.
the right
Right?
person. True.
It's just gonna save you a lot of time. It's just gonna help
Yeah.
you go way forward than you already could have, right? So if there's something which can increase your speed with quality and let you explore your potential, ask away. Uh, yeah, it's the
वो
best. The best is that you succeed, but the worst is you learn.
वो कहते हैं ना, सबसे बड़ा रोग क्या कहेंगे लोग, सो मतलब
Yeah,
डोंट वरी अबाउट द अदर्स। लोग
exactly.
हंसेंगे, दे लाफ ऑन यू फॉर 2 मिनट्स 5 मिनट्स, बट
Correct.
यू विल लर्न फॉर द लाइफ टाइम। आपको लाइफ
I
लर्निंग
exactly.
मैसेज या कंटेंट या नॉलेज मिलेगा। सो ऑलवेज आस्क, एंड ग्रेटिट्यूड
I
ग्रेटिट्यूड
agree.
works very well. So that was amazing, and got to learn so many things from
Thank
today's
you.
session. So thank you so much,
Thank you.
and wishing you the best in your career. You are doing great,
Thank you
and
so much.
hope you will continue and you will multiply it exponentially. So with that note, thank you so much once again, and see you on the other side. See you
Yes.
on some another interesting such podcast
Oh
very
yes,
soon.
for sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes, audience. So I'm sure you would have learned a lot from today's session, the importance of employer branding and the pros and cons of it, and how you can do it. So बस ऐसे ही जुड़े रहिए, stay tuned, follow us, subscribe our YouTube channel, and share it with your network, share it with your friends and family, so that ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों को ये पॉडकास्ट का, ये कंटेंट का बेनिफिट मिल सके। बस ऐसे ही जुड़े रहिए। विल विल keep inviting different industry experts और हम ऐसे ही पॉडकास्ट रिलीज करते रहेंगे. So subscribe our YouTube channel Vipul the Wonderful, and this session was powered by Post Resume. Post Resume we provide recruitment services across India and Africa for mid to senior level since 2007. So do connect with us. You can check the website shown here and connect with us for any help, support, guidance, or the talent solutions for your organization. We'll be happy to help you. So thank you so much. See you soon with another podcast. Till then, stay blessed, keep smiling. Thank you so much.